students as well. My wife's a kindergarten teacher. We have 11 grandkids, but if you can keep a secret, I will tell you something that very few people know. We have 4 daughters, but 2 of whom are pregnant. Nobody knows that except them and their husbands and the grandma and grandpa. So if the word gets out, I know it was District 196 that told, all right? You got to give me at least 2 more weeks before you say that to anybody. So we're going to 13 grandkids starting in the spring, which is wonderful. Halloween was a great time for us. What are you up to?
About 235 pounds.
Uh-oh.
I got 3 sons. They are, by the way, everybody told me 6, 8, and 10 were like the best years. Anybody got some 6, 8s, and 10s? Hello, years old. Am I speaking okay? Everybody hear me? I'm really liking 32, 30, and 26, like way more. I'm going to the Bears game next week with one of them. I'm golfing this afternoon with another one. This is way better than the Berenstein Bears, I'll tell you.
And you're sleeping better too, I'll bet.
Sleeping way better. And when the phone rings, it's for me, which I'm still not used to. I'm a school teacher. One of my former students is here, and I'm sure there's a couple more in the crowd. This is my 40th year teaching. My wife's in education. My son's in education. You don't want to sit next to us two on a plane, because we're going to talk to you about education and raising kids, and he and I are passionate about this. I want to thank you for coming out. I would hope that you expect a lot from this next hour, like life-changing a lot. Like when you hang with us, this is not just something to do on Saturday morning. We really expect a lot from you and from us and from this hour together. Say yes. Yes. Let's get rolling.
So we're thinking you all have a handout. Our theme for today is developing star qualities in our children. But I want to begin just to kind of tee this up a little bit so you understand some language we're going to use. At various times, we're going to use the phrases top 20 and bottom 80. And what we mean by that, when you and I are operating as a top 20 person, we are thinking, learning, and communicating effectively. When we're operating as a bottom 80 person, we're not. So would you raise your hand if in the last 6 months you've had a moment when your thinking, learning, or communicating was pretty effective? Anybody have that experience?
Come on.
Yeah. Hands up here, even if you're too cool for school.
A moment as a parent?
At least once.
Come on, even a blind squirrel steps in a nut once in a while, people. Come on. You must have done something right.
Now raise your hand if in the last 6 months you've had at least a moment when your thinking, learning, communicating was pretty ineffective. Anybody? All the hands went up on that.
You're a parent. Raise your hand.
So we're not using this language to compare. It's not like they're the top 20s, here are the bottom 80s. It's really a way of understanding these 2 dimensions of ourselves. Times when we're really pretty effective and times when we're not. All right? So here's a question I want to pose. Just kind of tuck this in the back of your head as we go through our session today. What's really going on? What's going on in us? What's going on in our children? What's going on in teachers? What's going on in our other family members? That if we were aware of it, would help us be more effective in both our personal and professional life. Now, if we had 3 days, we could really take a whack at that question. But we're going to make an effort here to at least understand something that's really going on in our young people. And with that awareness of what's going on, we can be more effective as parents. Mr. Cody, star qualities.
Star qualities. Raise your hand if you want your kid to be any of those things. Flexible, courageous, self-confident, risk-taker. This is just a tiny partial list. We call them star qualities.
You have a larger list on your handout.
I want to hear a few from you. Think of your son, your daughter, stepson, whoever you're thinking of. We're going to put a few on the sheet, and we're going to use those this morning as we talk through. But think, when your son gets out of Eastview High School, when your daughter gets out of middle school, when they start going out looking for a job, and by the way, in this economy, good luck. I know a lot of times you looked at your son and said, who's going to hire him? For what? You know, there's no job called, I'm too tired, I'm playing a video game. Right? Yes? He's hoping. But give me some of the star qualities you want to see your kids develop. Mr. Bernabei, can you call on a few people? Where's Mr. Bernabei? He's in the crowd. Did he leave? Paul left me. Okay, good. Give me a couple. What do you got for star qualities? Yell them out. You want your kid to be what? Resilient. You got it. Responsible. Respect. Respect, responsible, flexible, kind, what? Persistent. That might get you hired. Huh? Listener. Intelligence. Patience. Nice. Now, huh? Nice. All right. Now, where's your nearest Burger King? Or McDonald's? Where am I? 140th Street. Hello, is this a trick question? Where's the nearest drive-thru? On 42? Now, can I go through Burger King or McDonald's and just pull right up to the window and just pick up some of this for my kid? Yeah, I'd like to supersize that resiliency, please. You know, wouldn't it be nice if we could get this on eBay or Amazon? It'd be great if we could pick up these star qualities for our kids. Only it don't work that way. It's called, you pick these up through life. What's your neighborhood elementary school? What? Something Park, I can't hear you, but something Park, yes? That's a great place to pick up some star qualities, is down there in 3rd grade. A great place to pick up star qualities would be like, help rake today. Like, why? Well, we're working on persistence, tell your kid. You know, why? Well, we need to rake the leaves. I don't want to. Perfect. There's another star quality called doing stuff you don't want to do. Yes? I mean, that'd be super. Just grab a rake. My mom used to say, if you can't do it with a smile on your face, don't do it. I used to say to my kids, I don't care about the smile, just do it. Like Nike, get a Nike, just do it. I don't care if you're happy. Just, we need the leaves over here, so rake. I don't care if you're frowning, okay? So where do we pick up star qualities? We think one place, is a strong place, is by getting lessons from mistakes. Say lessons. Say mistakes. This next hour is about how one great place to pick up these star qualities. And I think the biggest problem for my 3 sons picking up these from mistakes is standing on this stage. I refuse to let my kids screw up. I was scared. I was scared. Anybody else scared of mistakes for your kid? Tell the truth. Yeah. It felt rotten to me. So I try to keep my kids from making mistakes. Therefore, they didn't get any, say, lessons. And then we don't have any star qualities. Thank goodness I figured this out 15 years ago. And my kids started screwing up a lot. It was awesome. What do you got, Mr. B?
Okay. So top 20 parents, when you and I are operating as effective parents, we are helping our kids learn from mistakes, and when they do that, they will move outside their comfort zone. I want to ask you to think about this word, trying. Tom and I have become very much concerned about students who disengage in school. And they disengage by quitting school, many of them, or they disengage by going to school but not trying. Over time, kids for whom trying is natural. None of you taught your kids, hey, you know what, today's sunny, let's crawl. They did that naturally. There's a desire in every human being to try. And as they go through life, sometimes that trying gets minimized for some very particular reasons. I don't know if this is going to work, but let's see if we can get this. My friend in the back is going to try to turn this on my computer. Let's see if this will work. There you go. Watch the Now, in about 12 seconds, that kid failed 4 times. Did you see it? Right? He fell down. He wasn't trying to fall down. He was trying to skate across the ice. But I get up again. That's called trying. Right? That's what we want to develop in our young people, or at least keep alive. They got it when they come out of your wombs. How can we keep that alive? Or what are we doing that's taking a hit on trying? Remember, trying is natural. All those children, crawling, walking, rolling over. Trying is natural. But what happens to it? Well, that's why we're going to take a look at this piece this morning. Your young people are receiving messages. All day long, messages are coming to them. And they're getting messages as we are, from teachers, from parents, from other adults, from the media. And they're messages while they're out here. But once they get inside a kid's head, those messages become beliefs. Say that with me. Messages become beliefs, all right? Now, some messages don't have much of an impact, but if a message that our young people are getting has to do with any of these three things, click, 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 identity. If the message has to do with who they are, or if the message has to do with their worth or their value, or if the message has to do with their purpose, then those messages have a powerful impact on young people. If they're sent the message that the Boston Red Sox won the World Series, that doesn't have anything to do with their identity, their worth, or their purpose. So whether they take that in or not is not all that significant. But messages that have to do with a person's identity, worth, or purpose has a powerful impact on the quality of their lives, especially when they become beliefs. So that's what we want to look at. What particular messages become beliefs in ourselves and in young people that might have a powerful impact on the quality of their lives and their relationships for the rest of their lives, especially on their willingness or desire to try. All right?
Think back when you were 12. Everybody think back to 12? Some of you, that's a little taller order than others. Remember when you're 12? Can you picture your school picture? It was not your best year. Why does every fifth grader look like a rodent? You know, check out your picture if you think I'm wrong. You just made a mistake. You're 12 years old. How did your peers, your parents, your coaches, all the people around you, what did they respond to you? What were their messages? Give me some messages. Paul, pick a couple people out
What
here.
did they say or do? How'd
they respond? I know you can't read
mistake?
this. It's just for me. Know better.
Know better. What else? Say again? A chuckle.
Ha ha.
Yeah. Try harder. You can do it.
You can.
What else? What do people
Come on,
do?
none of these kids got punished? Come on, you're 12. You just messed up. Room.
Go to your room, grounded.
Grounded.
The D word, disappointed.
There's the secret word right there.
Say again? Anger. Why do you keep doing this? Loud voices, absolutely.
Loud.
Shame. There you go. I'm hard on you because I love you. You're missing a big one that comes from peers when you were 12 years old. Ridiculed, embarrassed by laughing, huh? Laughing.
Chuckle, Paul.
Oh, maybe that's
Come on,
chuckle.
Paul, make
Yep.
a jump there
Maybe
for
that's
chuckle.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
I want to talk about the D word just 1 second. And I'm not telling you to never use this word, this disappointed word. What I'm telling you is it has a profound effect on your kids. Say why. Please, louder. Okay, pay attention here, will you? All this other stuff is temporary. How long am I in my room, Paul?
2 days.
2 days. How long are you laughing at me?
10 seconds.
10 seconds. Disappointment, when you say to your son, I'm not angry. How many have ever said, fill in the blank? No, son, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. That lasts like forever. So from talking to kids around the country, we got an advantage. We get to talk to thousands and hundreds of thousands of kids. And when we do this piece, they just cringe when that word comes up. Now, I'm not saying you're never disappointed in your daughter, because you're going to be. Just be careful with that word, is all we're throwing out there. That's a tough one. So what are all these things, Paul?
Well, I want to share one more, and it has to do with, it comes up again. Oftentimes
Repeat.
when we make a mistake, that mistake is brought up again by somebody later on. I fish 1 week a year in Canada. Been doing this for 12 years with friends. About 5 years ago, and I love cooking. Shore lunches, fresh walleye, it's fabulous. But about 5 or 6 years ago, I put too much lemon pepper on the walleye. Every year since, when we're fishing, hey, Paul, how's the lemon pepper on the walleye today, right? Now, that's just kind of a cute story. But you will have these experiences coming up in about a month. It's called Thanksgiving. When you're sitting around the family table, they're going to bring up mistakes, the mistakes sister made when she was in high school, all right? So, again, bringing it up from the past. Now, all of those things that you said that Tom wrote on that flip chart are actually messages. Verbal, nonverbal, and except for the one that he wrote in the bottom, meaning you can, They all seem to be negative in some way. So if those are the messages that human beings receive when they make a mistake, what would you say is the belief that they would have about themselves that comes from those messages? What would you say? You're a failure. The language we put it into is NGE, not good enough. Say that. Not good enough. The human experience, at least in our culture, of mistake making results in human beings believing that they are not good enough. Not good enough. So, this is a list that looks very similar to yours. Here's why we're sharing that with you. If we went to the airport right now and pulled 50 people and asked them the question that we asked you, you're going to get the same response with a few little changes. What does that mean? It means that it's kind of a universal experience, that we get negative messages when we've made a mistake that result in us believing that we are not good enough. Now let me tell you how you can minimize the potential of students in District 196 from exploding. If you can convince them that they're not good enough, I will promise you that their potential is not going to explode. Now nobody would intentionally do that, but I think unintentionally that's exactly what we're doing. And not just in District 196, but across the board, across the country. We are communicating to kids in ways that they are believing that they are not good enough. Now, I'm going to assume something about you. I'm going to assume that there were times when you made a mistake and people responded in a very positive way. Raise your hand if that's true for you. It wasn't one of these words that's on the board, but it's in a more positive way. Right? We've had those experiences as well. Realize this, Tom did not ask you what were the negative responses that people made to you when you made a mistake.
Nope.
He said, how did other people respond? We just almost instinctively give negative responses to it. Right?
Hey, Paul, phone's for you.
Oh, you know, I hate when he calls when we're doing training. I'm not available. I don't want to talk to him.
It's Satan.
I know.
He wants to know what's going on in Apple Valley to destroy children's potential.
Well, we chuckle at them when they make a mistake. We ask why, anger, loud voices. We shame them. Yeah, laugh at them.
Cool, he's heading for Rosemont.
Yeah, all right. Good.
That wasn't really Satan, that was a role play.
Okay?
Not really him.
So want to just kind of ground you in that sense of the experiences that we've had, or maybe the experiences our children are having around mistake making. Right? We're going to share with you two stories. The first one is mine, and it happened when I was 7 years old. Now, who's the younger of the two sisters? I have to ask you your age, dear. How old? 29.
Paul, don't ever ask a woman.
I know, I'm not supposed to ask a woman their age.
You got to stop doing that, man.
29 years old, I'm 66. I think that's a 37-year gap, all right? So I was 7, and I was going to make popcorn one night. You're probably thinking microwave. That's not an option Paul had when he was 7, all right? It's called stove with pot, oil in the pot.
You guys had a stove at that age?
We had a stove, yeah. 1 year. I'm pouring the plastic bag of popcorn seeds into the pot. The plastic bag touched the hot pot, melted a hole in it, and popcorn seeds went all over the stove counter and floor. My mother and father were in the living room watching a black and white TV. I'm not describing the color of the box. It was the color of the screen. All right? They heard this commotion. They came into the kitchen, they saw this mess, and they said to me, "Are you okay?" And I was. I was startled, but I wasn't burned. I said, I'm fine. Are you sure you're okay? Yes. We'll help you clean up the mess. And for the next number of minutes, that's what we did, at the age of 7. Now, if you were that boy, what would you say are the lessons or messages you got from that experience? Here's one. We value you. The message of unconditional love. I didn't know what unconditional meant when I was 7 years old, but that's what I was actually experiencing. All right? Second one, help is available to do what? Make it better. When you make a mistake, help's available, my parents taught me in that moment. To make it better, clean it up, fix it, all that kind of stuff. Now, fourth one is, there's a lesson in the mistake, is what I learned. In every human error, there is a lesson that the world is trying to send us. In mine, it's called heat melts plastic. Heat melts plastic. That's the lesson that was embedded in my mistake. So if you crawl in my brain, you're going to find a belief that says mistakes are wonderful.
He ain't kidding, people.
Well, why would I kid? Look at all the wonderful things that happen when you make a mistake. Right? Now, that happened when I was 7. I never thought about that experience until I was 23 years old. I was now teaching at the high school that I attended in Illinois, an all-boys school. I was teaching seniors, and I was living in a large closet above my classroom. Bright kids were working on writing, English class. The kids write during the day. I bring their papers to my large closet at night, and I read them, and they were awful. Next day, I'm trying to get them to prime the pump a little bit, right? Get them to write. It'll be a little creativity. They write, I read, awful. And one night I said to myself, what's different between me and my students? And I was 23. They were 17 and 18 years old. So 5 years difference. But in that moment, when I asked that question, this popcorn story came rushing through 16 years into my consciousness. And I realized that the difference between me and my students is I'm not afraid of making a mistake. And in that moment, I discovered my primary job as a teacher is to help my students fail. My primary job as a teacher is to help our students fail. Because if they are so afraid of failure, they will not move outside their comfort zone and get all the wonderful life lessons that are waiting for them out there. Now, when you tell, we've been sharing this with schools all over the country, and we've been telling schools, make sure that every parent in your school knows that your job as a school is to help their kids fail. And the next day, you will have an empty school, right?
And make sure you vote for the bond issue.
Yeah, right. What do we do at District 196? We want a bond issue so we can do a better job of helping our students fail.
Perfect.
But in reality, it's not fail ultimately. No, of course not. We want our kids to succeed and do well and accomplish things ultimately. But failure is a major way by which human beings learn. And if we take that away from them, then they are not going to learn important stuff. We're in high schools all over the country. And maybe some of your local high schools have this. You see kids, usually a football team, that are wearing shirts that says, failure is not an option. My friends, that is only true if you choose not to, what's that three-letter word? Try. The only way that failure is not an option is if you do not try. And kids are learning that. I can avoid failure. I just won't try.
So Paul grew up in a house not like mine. This is like Danny Tanner Full House, right? Right? We're going to sit on the bed with puppets every night and talk about how we did at the Bernabei's. Yes?
It's cool.
Remember Full House? Anybody? Huh? Remember the one where there was a misunderstanding and then they cleared it up? All right. Yeah, that one. So he thinks this is normal. He really does. I've hung out with this man for 15 years. He operates like this. He grew up that way. Now, our fifth partner in our company is named Michael Cole, and we tell this story with Michael's permission. Michael did not grow up with the Tanners, okay? Michael had a very abusive father. Alcohol was involved. It was not a pretty place to grow up at age 7. One day, Dad was going to fix the lights, so he kills the power, and Michael's job is to hold a little flashlight so Dad can fix the wires. And Michael is thinking, there's got to be some way to not be like verbally and physically abused here if I can just hold the flashlight right for 10 minutes. And of course, the dad starts in on him. It's too close. It's too high. It's too low. Would you come around the other side, you idiot? Put the flashlight where it needs to be. And Michael's trying everything he can think of. But of course, it's no good. And Dad goes crazy on him. Eventually, the belt comes off. Michael gets hit. And this is key. And he's replaced by his 3-year-old brother, Joey. He says, get your brother, you good-for-nothing, whatever, fill in the blank, and go to your room, and Joey can do this. Now, that's not the same popcorn messages in that flashlight story, right? What are some messages Michael got? Worthless. Huh? You have no value. We call it NGE. Say NGE. Not good enough. That's the number one thing we got to keep away from our kids if you want star qualities. Number 2, what other message did Michael get? Huh? It's or else, your brother's better than you, there's comparison. What other messages did Michael get? Oh, this is a good one. Did Michael screw up? No. Did Paul screw up? Yes. So Paul gets like celebrated for a mistake. Oh, how wonderful, Paul, you know. And Michael gets like blowtorched for like doing a flashlight correctly. Now that's a big deal. Say big deal.
Big deal.
That's a big deal to carry in your life. Michael carried that into his marriage. Yeah, and thought, well, that's a mistake, even though it's not. Like bringing the groceries home a minute late, wife, is a mistake. Well, yeah, it is if you're confused what mistakes are. And this is key now. For Michael, the lesson was in the punishment. You only get the lesson if you're punished. Where was Paul's mistake? Or where was Paul's lesson?
In the mistake.
You see the difference? Heat melts.
Plastic.
Michael's lesson is just don't get caught. Like try to get away with whatever you can, because otherwise you're going to get nailed for it. So when the lesson's in the punishment, that's a big deal. We're going to take a close look at that over this next half hour here. And mistakes are painful. So at Michael's house, mistakes are not an option. He needs that t-shirt. Mistakes are not an option. Because at his place, it was real painful. Now, I'll bet you your house is somewhere between, yell out popcorn, and flashlight. I bet it's in between. I'll bet you've had some popcorn moments with little Samantha. And I'll bet you've had some flashlight moments where, Samantha, don't touch mommy, like go away. Yes? We've all been there. There's ineffective and effective responses to mistakes. And especially if little Samantha has done the same mistake like 47 straight times. Like, the shoes don't go in the oven, you know. Right?
Popcorn in oven.
Yeah.
So we've just looked at how other people have responded to us when we've made a mistake. The words Tom wrote on the flip chart. Now, what do we do when we make a mistake? You do.
Time out. If you're drifting, anybody doing a Walmart list, stop it. This is where it hits the road. You ready? Are you drifting? Was anybody just drifting right there? Come on, you were too. You're thinking that it's still sunny out. Don't worry, it's cloudy. All right, here's the deal. Number one, have you ever seen your daughter or son deny or hide a mistake? Huh? You ever get the chocolate deal and it wasn't me? How many have had that one? It's like the brownies are gone, but I didn't eat them, right? You've been there? How many of you have ever denied or hid a mistake? And if you're not, don't have your hand up, think checkbook. All right? It wasn't me, honey. Well, it wasn't me either, so that means Satan's got our checkbook, huh? Hey, deny or hide, is it effective? Really short term, is it effective? Yeah, for like 4 seconds. But usually when I screw up, my wife looks at me and goes, this one feels like you. This one seems like you. Yes? And you're like, well, yeah. Now, why would your daughter deny or hide? Paul, could you point to the...
Yeah.
Why would you deny or hide it?
For these reasons.
You don't want that stuff, especially the disappointed word. My wife, God love her, and she's a saint. She married me, so she's going right to heaven. But she hit the garage once with the minivan, and there's a big green stripe on our white garage, little dent job going. I go, Judester, come here. What do we got going here? She goes, wasn't me. Was not me. I said, well, no one else drives the minivan. Come here, look. She goes, busy. Why doesn't she want to own that? Why doesn't she want to own it? Because she doesn't want this crap from her husband. Yes? Guess what happened a month later? She hit the garage again. Why, Paul?
She didn't get the lesson.
And what happens when you don't get it? Serious? You're starting to go, oh, wait, this is how it works at our house, too. See, when you don't get you repeat only the consequences get higher. Now, this time she tore the garage deal, the door opener down, too. See, the consequences go up. You with me? And in Minnesota, like when you're not good, let's say you're not good at robbing liquor stores. All right? We give you an adult timeout at Stillwater. Yes? Yes? And those are people that deny or hide. It wasn't me. Well, dude, you're on camera. You know? And then eventually we got to give you a timeout. So see, and each time is called third strike, and eventually the consequences are huge. Number two, have you ever blamed? How many ever screwed up at work? Now this is you. You screwed up at work, and it's like the assistant. It was my partner. It was my wife. You know. And how many of your kids do this? How many have a little brother? That poor guy. You got big sister, little brother, and that poor kid gets more blame for everything. Like the vase is gone. He did it. Why? Because he can't talk yet. Right? Blame, blame, blame. You join us some other day, we'll do a half hour on blame. And blame is totally dysfunctional. Well, prove it. Have you ever blamed? Raise your hand. You ever get anything wonderful out of that? Keep your hand up. You got to join us next time for that one. Number three, how about justify? Yes, I screwed up, Mother. I got straight F's in Spanish, but you told me to raise my math grade. I've got a good reason that Spanish is suffering. Yes, I hit the garage, Judy will say, but you make me do all the work around here. There's a lot of stress on me. How many have ever heard your kid come up with 100 reasons why? They love to justify, justify, justify. Bernabei and I got caught speeding up by Grand Forks, North Dakota one night. Say why? We're going to change the lives of foster children in Grand Forks. What a noble purpose. Which I explained to the officer with his hat. He was like giving us feedback about our driving. And I said, oh, but sir, we are going to go to North Grand Forks and we're going to change lives of those abandoned by society. And he says to me, thank you on behalf of North Dakota, and thank you for the $180 contribution to the fund which will support this training. He's not interested in our mistakes. How about dwell? You got a kid that dwells. Kid screws up in softball, you might as well not talk to him for 2 weeks. Yes? Or how about mom? When mom goofs up, here, the moms. How many live in the hell of dwell here? Come on, how many don't even wait for this list because you do it to yourself? You chuckle, oh, I'm disappointed in me. Huh? You're grounded. Loud voice comes from in here, though. Shame comes from inside. Shame is just inward blame. You getting this? Shame. If you got a kid full of shame and dwelling, we got to stop that. And there's a couple of great reasons, but one of them is you don't get the lesson. You're so busy beating on yourself, that you don't get the lesson. Got it? Huh? Hello? You out there? The dwellers are all sitting there going, oh, darn, But there's a better way, Mr. B.
Well, and that doesn't mean that we're not responsible for things. Right? We're not trying to deny responsibility. We screw up sometimes, we're responsible for that. But those behaviors, those bottom 80 behaviors, just don't advance the ball down the field. What does? Well, a top 20 way. When we're doing those 4 things, we are going to repeat the mistake, as Tom said, and not get the lesson. But when we're operating as a top 20, we operate very differently. We own it and learn the lesson. We screw up. We know there's something in that experience that is a lesson for us, and we go after it. We don't want to miss the lesson. Very different from this. Right? However, if these are things that have happened over and over and over again to our young people, they're not going to try to learn the lesson. They're going to try to avoid anybody knowing that they've made a mistake by blame and dwell and justify. So, identify a mistake that you've made recently. I'm going to ask you to think about this. And can you identify what the lesson was that life was trying to send you?
Maybe you got it, maybe you didn't. But what was life trying to teach you in that moment when you goofed up big time? And
we need 2 people to share. I don't want to know what the mistake was, but what was the lesson from the mistake?
Yeah.
Right here.
Think ahead.
Okay? Think ahead and slow down.
What was the lesson from the popcorn?
Heat melts plastic.
You ever use that baby?
I sure do. Times when I want to melt plastic, times when I don't.
Now there's 9 other ways we could have taught him that. I could have taught him that in a book. I could have taught him that in a Berenstain Bears book, actually. I could have taught him that on a PowerPoint. I could actually demonstrate it in science class. But what was the best way for little Paul to learn that heat melts plastic?
Well, I want to ask the 2 women who shared here. If you would have read those things in a book, think ahead and slow down, or if somebody 20 years ago would have said to you, think ahead and slow down, would you in those situations have learned the lesson? Absolutely not.
Maybe a tiny bit, right?
There are some human lessons that we really only get by making the mistake. So if we take away the mistake, if we can't make mistakes, then we're not going to get those lessons. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh. Would you come up here? I want to give you the microphone and you can do that. Yes.
No.
Yes. Absolutely.
Here's how you learn. Here's my lesson. Reply is different than reply all. Think about it. Guess how you learn that one? You send the dumb message to sister-in-law. That didn't go well. I'm real careful about reply all ever since. And you would have told me that in a computer manual, it wouldn't have helped me. You got to send the wrong Christmas message to sister-in-law to get that one. Just saying, like.
So why is this so terribly important? Well, there are lots of reasons, this topic that we're considering today, but one of them has to do with comfort zone. And we would hope that the schools in your school district are comfort zones for your kids. Places where they're safe, places where they know how to do what they need to do. And we'd also hope that our homes are that way. But where would you say the big learning is? Inside or outside comfort zone? Where's the big learning? Outside. We know that instinctively. Big learning is outside. Where are we more likely to make mistakes, inside or outside comfort zone? So in order to get to the land of big learning, you've got to pass through the land of mistakes. However, if these are the things that happen when we make a mistake, then the process goes like this. I make a mistake, I get these responses from parents, teachers, coaches, peers, and I head right back to comfort zone. A year ago, there was a second grade class. Teacher's doing a lesson, asks the question, all the kids raise their hands. She calls on one little girl who answers the question, after which her classmates laughed at her. Not because they're evil, but because they haven't been taught how to respond to people when they make a mistake. And here's what happened the next day. When it was time for school, this little second grader said, "Mommy, Daddy, I have a tummy ache." Well, she didn't have a tummy ache. She had a heartache. And never again during that second grade year did that little girl raise her hand. My question is this: what did America lose on that day? If that happened to one child in this country, it'd be a disaster. But that experience is happening to lots of kids on a day-to-day basis. Maybe it's the cure to cancer that was operating inside that little girl that we will never get because her curiosity has been damaged and she's not asking questions that's going to lead to some wonderful, wonderful discovery.
Hey, back up one, because here's what else took a hit that day. What's big learning? Those who just walked in, you missed a fabulous opening. Kidding. Say star qualities. Tell these people that we're raking leaves. Star qualities, yes? Huh? So guess what just took a hit, Paul, on this little girl?
Yeah.
Her persistence. Do you think her persistence grew in that moment when everybody laughed at her? How about her self-confidence? How about her resiliency? See, the big learning involves, and I don't care if she learns Shakespeare. I really don't. I'm more interested if we just took a hit on the big learning. To me, Shakespeare's the little learning. I'm a math teacher. I taught Dr. Freed in the back here. I don't care about that being the big learning anymore. This is the big learning. That's why you send your kid to Eastview, is to get this stuff. And it'd be nice if they can quote Shakespeare, I suppose, because it's cool in Trivial Pursuit at the bar. But I'm not really sure where else you use it. Yes? Go ahead, Coach. Where are we?
So Grace Murray
this is
Hopper
good.
said, a ship in port is safe, but that's not what ships are built for. Yes, we want our schools to be safe ports, but they also have to be big, wide open oceans in which kids can explore and discover things, and when they do that, they're going to make mistakes. We just want people in those places who are helping them to learn from those mistakes, as we have parents in our homes helping young people learning from mistakes.
Show them the boat again. Isn't that a safe feeling for your kid? Doesn't it feel great when your kid's home on Friday night as a teenager? Huh? You got them right in port. That's great, but you're headed for a 35-year-old living in your basement yelling, "More meatloaf, Mom." Now, if you're cool with that, lock them up. Tie them down. Get a chain on your daughter. You're not dating until you're 40. I've seen those boys out here in Apple Valley. You aren't going out. Hey, cool. Good luck with that. Man, she's built for the ocean. She's not built for the harbor. It's a pretty picture, though. Let's take a picture, but it's not going to work. That dog leash you use at the fair, how many use the leash at the fair? Come on. You're out there somewhere. You got the leash on the kid? That don't work so good at prom. All right? Yes?
I tried.
I tried it, yeah. Helicopter parents. Here we go. Here they come. We're going to swoop in and kill my kid's opportunity to learn by never letting them screw up. Now, this is honesty time. Raise your hand if you've done that assignment late at night. Your daughter's crying. She's supposed to make the Peeps diorama for Easter. She didn't even go to the store. And you're out there trying to put this together with her. Come on, you've bailed your kid out somewhere. Yes? Come on, the science fair thing. Really? The kid did hydroelectricity? And Dad's an engineer? Really? The kid who hasn't opened his book the whole year. Here's a dam I made from scratch, right? Come on, Dad. Yes? But we don't want our kids to fail. We think it's great to helicopter in and bring the form and bring the gloves if their hands are cold. Folks, I would swoop in any time it's life-threatening. Other than that, I heard Barbara Colarosa, who you got to check her work. She told me 25 years ago, you know what forgetting your gloves does? It makes your hands cold. And you guess what they do the next day when that happens? They bring gloves. You know what I mean? It's consequences. That won't kill them to have no gloves. So don't always helicopter in. Say why? Because your kid has no frontal cortex yet. They're going to make these things called mistakes. Say mistakes. You can't stop it. They're born to make mistakes. That's what they do, okay? For some kids more than others. But the key is, do you want the mistake to happen at Friendly Hills Middle School, or do you want it to happen on 35E? Because it's going to happen somewhere. So that's why Paul is pushing for this. Let's make mistakes in school. I want your kid to get caught cheating on the spelling test and get hauled out in the hall and maybe a little bit embarrassed and maybe suspended for an hour or whatever happens in grade school. Perfect, because you're going to get the lesson. Cheating's a big deal, especially in like life. IRS, hello? I'd rather have the kid get it in spelling than with the Internal Revenue Service. Yes? Or with your wife, the cheating. You with me? Cheating's a big deal. This stuff needs to be learned. I want a kid to make a reckless mistake in the classroom. Maybe throw a spitball and get caught. Why? Because I don't want him doing it on 35E after prom in the party bus. And they're gonna, yeah, you were there. Yeah, you were on that bus. You were too, right? And the point is like, whoa, yeah, that's a great point. I don't want that phone call. I'd rather get that phone call. Anybody with me? But if you helicopter in and start going, well, do you have any video evidence that my kid cheated? You're just killing the opportunity for this adult to teach your kid a lesson. You got to support your teachers.
Insight. Early morning Saturday. Insight.
You haven't had one of these in years.
It's been years, but here it comes. I think why we do that as parents when our kids screw up, especially if it's public, is that what gets activated inside of us is NGE, not good enough. I start feeling like a not good enough parent. And I might not even be conscious of that, but that feeling of not being good enough results in me trying to smooth over the mistake that my kids have made. Your kids are going to make decisions independent of you, right? That's called being a free human being. The fact that my daughter in high school drank after I told her not to and got caught by the police, and we got the report, and then I said to her, honey, when you go to school on Monday, you have to tell your athletic director that you will not be able to participate for 2 weeks because that's the rule. That was painful for me. I didn't want that to happen, especially in a public situation. But let me tell you, that daughter may be one of the most responsible people on this planet today. She's a fabulous mom. Wow, does she take care of her duties and responsibilities, right? So again, that's a choice we're going to make. We're going to let our kids experience learn from them.
Stop you right there. What was the consequence?
For my daughter?
2 weeks.
2 weeks of not participating.
Did you also apply some punishment, yelling, shaming? Did you do any of that?
No, we got into, what did you learn from this?
So at his house, he just goes with the consequence. You hearing this? He doesn't even go to punishment phase, because he could have done more, like, you're an idiot, I told you better, blah, blah, blah. That's huge, is the difference between consequence and punishment. 2 weeks off, no games, and maybe you're taking the bus to school because the car was involved. Right? Those are consequences. That's not a punishment. See the difference? Hey, my kid hit a car one time, and he came downstairs crying. This is Brendan. And he says, hey, make sure you open to page 125 of this book that you wrote about mistakes. Don't ever write a book, okay? I go, okay, cool. We bought you a crappy Taurus on purpose because you can't drive very well. You know, that's why I bought you the $150 Taurus. And he goes, yeah, but Mom gave me your car because I had a date with Brittany. Now, I about lost it then. So he comes down. I said, I can't talk now. I'm furious. But first, I'm going to find wife next. And the next morning, he comes down. He goes, how long am I grounded? What's the deal? What's the deal? I said, well, you owe me $1,000, so you're not grounded because you got to go to work and make the $1,000. I just called the other car owner. You owe $1,000. He goes, well, what? Am I grounded? No, go to work for $40. And that's a lot of 40s to make $1,000. You follow? See, that was a consequence. That's not a punishment. No shame. I didn't put him in the corner. I didn't tell him he's the dumbest kid I've ever met. He just had to pay me $1,000. And he's never hit anything since.
No,
he got
great.
the lesson.
Yeah.
Accidents cost money.
So why do kids hang out in their comfort zone? Or adults, for that matter? Why do we get stuck there? Well, there really is just one reason. It has to do with fear. But fear can get manifest in a couple of different ways. We're going to look at 3 of them. Fear that can keep kids stuck in their comfort zone.
Here's the first one. Anybody got like a 2-year-old? 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4, 5? When do opinions start mattering to that kid? Are they at preschool? Are they starting to hear opinions from other kids yet? Grade 2, 3, 4? When do opinions start? Because they're in there somewhere. I know they're alive and well when I get them as 9th graders. You better have Uggs, and you better not have Fugs, and you for sure don't have Nugs, which are no Uggs. All right? And the men don't know what I'm talking about. Opinions at high school are like rampant. This building is full of opinions at Eastview High School, I guarantee you. So opinions, say OPO. Other people's opinions is what keeps us locked down and afraid to make mistakes. We're afraid other people are going to have opinions about us. Right? Say OPO. Say it like Wizard of Oz OPO. Everybody. OPO.
Oh.
OPO. And they're everywhere. Your kid will say, you'll say to your kid, I see there's this opportunity to learn square dancing. Isn't that cool? All your friends are doing it. And then the kid will go to lunch, they'll go, oh, square dancing. Oh, good one. Nice varsity sport for you, Sparky. See, OPOs, that kid, now the kid has he's in a quandary. Is he going to stay locked in that fence because of his little friends' opinions or not? You with me? We say OPOs are none of my business unless they're in my best interest. We had to add that last sentence because a kid came to me the first year we taught that says, my mom thinks I should drink more water and eat green beans. I told my mom that's just an opinion. So you got to know which ones to listen to. Don't go to dance is not in your best interest. You can meet a lot of friends there, kid. Don't listen to those opinions. My fun son, Brendan, comes to me. First, I make him we teach this course in 9th grade at Cretin-Derham. Okay, that's where I teach. And my kid had to take the class. Say why? Because I made him. And he hated every minute of it. We taught him all this thing about mistakes, and he's sitting there pouting because I make him take this course. It's an elective at our place. 6 months later, he tells me he's going out for golf. Varsity golf as a freshman. Now, he can't really break, 82 maybe, but he's not going to make the varsity golf team, I tell him. And I said, you're not ready. We'll get you lessons. You wait a year. You go out for golf later. And he goes, hey, awesome opinion. I had a class on this. The guy looks similar to you, he says. Hey, and he told me to ignore those opinions unless they're in my best interest. So really, all I need is a ride to golf tryouts. But thank you for your love and concern. He said, I got this. And that day he shot 38 down at Rich Acres. Terrible course down here. But he shot 38 in the back nine. He made the varsity. Today he is the
golf pro
at North Oaks. And you got to drive through a gate to see him. And his shirts cost more than my car. Okay? I almost destroyed his dream as a dad. Say, helicopter. Here comes Dad. I'll save you, son. And he's like, no thanks. I can deal with humiliation of getting cut. How about you? Could you deal with it? Is what he's asking me. It isn't I'm cool with it. You're not. But thank God that day he had a rotten father and a great teacher. And he happened to wear the same shoes. Okay? Now, not a lot of you get to teach your kid and be your parent. So you better get good at being the parent. I was lucky. I had 2 shots at my kid. Failure. You? Is this you?
Failure is probably the worst thing that you can do in our culture, according to cultural standards and values. But really, failure is an event, not a person. That's what we want our young people to know. Failure is something that we do. You saw that kid in the ice skating rink. Right? He was failing. He was failing, but he was not a failure. In our culture, failing seems to stick to us as then I am a failure. That's an error in itself, but it sure keeps a lot of young people and older people stuck in their comfort zones. Edison said, I've not failed, I just found 10,000 ways that won't work. We are in a room right now with no light coming from the outside. I want you to imagine this. For this guy and for these 2 guys, Orville and Wilbur Wright, do you understand that they were up in the air for 12 seconds in Kitty Hawk? Tom and I flew to Phoenix a couple weeks ago. 3 hours we were up in the air. Now I want you to think about this. We go to the local bar and we meet Thomas Edison. And Edison says, hey you guys, I'm working on a light bulb. I think I can make a light bulb so we don't need light from the outside.
We're going to replace sun and fire, said Edison.
You would have said to this guy, you are nuts.
Get another drink, Tom.
The only way you get light is by fire and sun. Edison says, yeah, I know that, but I think there's another way. He'd have been laughed at. Other people's opinions. Or how about these 2 guys? Orville goes into the bar and he says to you, hey, come on over to Kitty Hawk tomorrow. Wilbur and I are going to fly. No, you guys, you're crazy. Birds fly. Human beings ride horses. Yeah, I know, but we're working on something. We think we can create an airplane. Those thoughts by those three men were absolutely insane at the time that they had those thoughts. And trying and trying and trying, and failing and failing and failing. And you and I today, on a Saturday morning, can see each other because one man was willing to fail 10,000 times. Isn't that the coolest? We'll never have an invention in this country again if failure is not an option. Because all human successes, all human inventions have been made off the backs of several failures.
So number one, OPO. Number two, failure. Number three, confusion. Raise your hand if your kid has been confused about anything the last couple months. Huh? Yeah.
Think about this in school. What's the possibility of Monday of your kids being confused in school? It's supposed to happen that way. But here's what a kid told us. She said, I'm confused in school when I don't know the answer. I pretend, blush, and don't raise my hand as much. Do you see her beginning to disengage? Right? Absolutely. Confusion is a cause for kids to disengage. But it shouldn't be that way. Why? Because confusion is a natural and necessary part of all learning. Say that with me. Confusion is a natural and necessary part of all learning. What does that mean? Here's what it means. There is nothing that you and I can do today that we were not once confused about. If you can tie your shoes, if you can ride a bicycle, if you can add or subtract, if you can fry an egg, you were once confused about that. Because confusion is a natural and necessary part of all learning. It's just that we haven't taught our kids that sentence. And so as they get older, especially when they get into school and begin getting confused, they begin to believe that they are stupid, that they are dumb, that they are not good enough. Whereas confusion is a wonderful thing, they begin to believe it's a terrible thing. So what we have to do...
Here's an easy way to share this with your kids. Watch this. Just draw a mountain on your refrigerator with a marker. Perfect. Here we go. What do you got, Mr. B?
So I am going to be Tom's teacher. We're in Spanish class, and Tom is a freshman at Eastview High School. Right? And he's in freshman year Spanish where he doesn't get it. No habla español for Tomás.
No entiendes.
Yeah. But he wants to. What he wants to do is climb the mountain and get the Spanish aha, where he can speak it and write it and read it.
Say aha. Aha, I get it. I don't get it.
But he doesn't have it yet. He's just starting out this class, freshman year. He comes to class every day. He's giving it his all. And Tom gets to the valley of confusion. Tom, were you ever confused about Spanish?
Yes.
What happened then? What did you feel like?
I yelled at my mom for putting me in Spanish. I don't want to be in Spanish. I like English. I understand. I don't get what albondigas are. No me gustan, right? So a lot of kids will run for cover. Switch teachers. How many have heard this one from your high school daughter? I got to switch from Mrs. Anderson. She makes it confusing. She needs a raise, lady, not to be fired. You're supposed to be confused. It's a natural part of learning. A lot of kids head for the exit, and they think they're making a mistake. They confuse confusion with mistakes. It's not a mistake to be confused. It just means you haven't got it yet. Say yet. I just don't get it yet.
So if Tom goes back down the mountain, he will never get the Spanish aha. Now, would you raise your hand if that's true for anything in your life where you didn't get it, you wanted to, you start climbing the mountain, you got confused, and you scampered right back down the mountain. Anybody have that experience with anything in life? Look at how common that is for us. For me, it's automobile mechanics. All right? So here's my grandson, Charlie. Charlie woke up one morning, he's lying on his back because that's all he could do as this little boy. He saw his older brother, Joe, running around the house throwing balls through hoops, and he had this thought, I'd like to be able to do that, but I don't even know how to roll over yet. Right? So Charlie headed up Roll Over Mountain. He wanted the roll over aha. He got to the Valley of Confusion. He tried to dip this shoulder, get this other one over the top. Couldn't quite do it. Now his mother, my daughter Cody, was there with him. You think she said this, Charlie, you're a loser.
Or better still...
Or maybe a little comparison. Charlie, your brother Joe can do this, why can't you? Right?
Or better still, we're going to bus you to a school of other kids who can't roll over. And we'll have a special time from 10 to 11 where you kids get Mrs. Sorensen. Right?
I can promise you my daughter did none of those things. She smiled, she encouraged, she even helped Charlie roll over. But both of them still knew it wasn't him. Until when? Well, we sent emails to everybody in District 196 last Christmas. when Charlie got the rollover, aha. Now here's my question. Why, when my student Tom gets to the valley of confusion, does he go down the mountain? And when Charlie gets to the valley of confusion, he goes up the mountain. The answer to that question, my friends, is this. For Tom, confusion equals stupid.
It's a mistake.
He's not good enough. And so that feeling makes him withdraw or quit trying. For my grandson, confusion does not equal stupid. It's his natural way by which he learns stuff. He's confused today about something. Right? That's our job, is to make sure that our kids are not equating confusion with being stupid or with not good enough. And if we can do that as parents or as educators, I'll promise you those kids will keep trying because it is natural.
If I keep trying, Paul, do I get those star qualities?
I think that's going to happen.
If I quit trying, Paul, do I get those star qualities?
Not going to happen.
I get the star quality of having my mom bail me out at Eastview by firing the teacher who's just trying to get me confused because that's her job.
You learn how to duck responsibilities. That's the star quality you get in that situation.
Yeah, that's a great star quality.
So I will promise you this. Unless our young people come to understand that confusion rocks, when they experience confusion, they're going to head down the mountain. And the only way we can communicate that to them is if confusion is celebrated. It needs to be celebrated in our homes, and it absolutely has to be celebrated in our schools. How might we do that? Well, let me give you an example. 1, 2, 3, count. Tom and I are teachers, so 1, 2, 3, count. I'm going to yell 1, 2, 3, and all of you clap once in unison. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, hang on to that. Hang on to that. So our dear friend Willow was the social studies teacher in high school. Had this experience. I'll be the teacher, and Tom's going to be the student. Right?
Yeah, I don't understand Peru. I understood Venezuela. I'm completely lost on Peru.
You know, Tom, that's kind of the norm for you. I don't even think you understood Venezuela. You've been confused for a long time. All right? You know, we've got to go on. Tom, you're going to have to figure this out about Peru all by yourself. All right, class, today we're going to talk about...
What's Tom not going to do tomorrow? Ask a question. See, confusion's not okay in this room.
Now, that actually happened to our friend. She handled the situation that way, and then she realized, my gosh, she's shutting down her students and their curiosity. So she decided she's going to operate differently. Let's role play this one again. Take 2.
I'm confused. And then some kid in class would yell 1, 2, 3. Watch. I'm confused about Peru. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Tom, that's fabulous.
For confusion.
That's fabulous. You know, what's your first name? Lisa. Lisa's been to Peru. I'm going to ask you to sit down and work with her. Lisa, would you explain the exports, imports of Peru for Tom? All right? But I'm going to work with these people over here. If you don't get it, Tom, after a couple of minutes, you make sure you see me. And I love the way you raise your hand when you're confused. Keep that up, buddy.
See, the 1, 2, 3, and this is what I do in my classroom for math, is if a kid is confused, we all clap for him. That's different than, you idiot, weren't you listening Tuesday? Which is, by the way, I'm good at those answers, too. I don't know if you've picked up on that. I got a little of that in me, as Dr. Catherine in the back will remember from 1989. And again, I'm sorry. I'm a little better now.
So how might we do that?
Confusion.
Let's take a look at this. I want to suggest, since we have the superintendent here, that she puts up a sign in front of every school that says this.
We're serious. We're dead serious.
The only reason why a kid should get out of bed Monday morning, whether it's a kindergartner or a senior in this school, is because they're confused. That's why this school exists, is to help kids deal with confusion around what? Social studies, math, science, social life, dating girls, whatever, whatever it happens to be.
Well, how many here are confused about raising Samantha? That's why you got up this morning, right? Not yet, but you're getting there.
There's a school south of St. Louis. One of our partners, Kevin and I, were there 2 weeks ago. Elementary school. You walk into that building and you will see this banner on the wall. In fact, we took some more pictures of the kids standing in front of this banner. Confusion on a pedestal. Every kid coming into that school knows they're coming to school today because they're confused. Why are you coming to school? Little girl says, I'm confused about reading. Wonderful, that's what we do here. Come on in. Right? Now, you don't have to add a cent to the budget of your school district for our schools to celebrate confusion, right? Or for us at home to celebrate confusion. So here's a homework assignment. We don't have time to do this. How have we been responding to our students or our kids when they've been confused? And how can we celebrate it as parents in our homes or as teachers in our schools? If we do that, kids are going to keep climbing that mountain. And trying will stay alive. It is natural.
Mr. B, You got 5 minutes to put this to bed.
5 minutes.
So pick what you want to do. What's the most
let's
important thing, and let's go there.
Let's go to ACT.
All right?
Let's go to
ACT stands for Aware, Conscious Choice, Talk. Say aware. See, you were asleep 4 hours ago, and you were asleep about mistakes last week. We're hoping today you got more aware. Just a little more aware. It isn't like you're a terrible person, you wanted to punish your kid the wrong way. I just fell asleep for many years. So awareness is just be aware of your beliefs around mistakes. How do I want to be the next time something gets goofed up? Next time milk gets spilled at our house, how's that going to go? I don't think we spend much time, we're sleepy. Just get aware. And when you get aware, maybe you act different. Number 2, conscious choice.
And really 2 conscious choices. The first one is, how do I want to respond when I make a mistake? What's the conscious choice I want to make? Because if I don't make a conscious choice, I'm likely to make an unconscious choice. Deny, blame, dwell, justify. So we think scripts are important. We all have scripts in our heads, those lines that we automatically say or think under certain circumstances. What's your script when you make a mistake? Well, our dear friend Willow, when we met Willow when she was 24 years old, but she was raised in Madison, Wisconsin, and whenever Willow made a mistake as a child, here's the response she would get. Willow, what's wrong with you? Willow, what's wrong with you? And that became her script. So when we met her in her 20s, when Willow would make a mistake, that's what would come out of her. Willow, what's wrong with you? Now that would be a bottom 80 script. And as she became more aware of top 20 stuff and becoming more effective, she changed her script to, oops, look what I just did, wonder what I can learn from this. Say that with me. Oops, look what I just did.
Wonder what I can learn from this.
Oops means the mistake's been made. Look what I just did means I did it.
Claim it.
Wonder what I can learn from this is the desire to get the lesson. That became her script. Second conscious choice is, how do I want to respond when someone else makes a mistake, especially a child? Again, I think we have scripts for that, and they're listed on the chart here from earlier. So here's Willow's script as a young mom. She has 2 boys, Cooper and Barrett. Cooper, what's wrong with you? That was her script. And then she realized the danger that was, so she changed it. Cooper, what can we learn from this? Again, that doesn't mean that there aren't consequences, but it's more important for our young people to get the lesson from the mistake than those negative things that we listed at the beginning of our session.
He's not kidding. I've seen Willow with Cooper. I've seen him dump his dinner on the floor because he's angry or whatever. I've watched Willow deal with that. What she's raised into this kid is a sensitive, emotionally aware kid. Because this kid gets consequences, but this kid gets a mother that is very aware about mistakes. Cooper's going to be a cool guy. He's 8, and he's on his way to being a big difference maker in a positive way for other people. He's the one who went to his mom and says, Mom, you got to give this talk at our school. A lot of our teachers don't understand this. An 8-year-old. He says, we really got to work with my teacher on this. She doesn't get it, Mom.
So you have in your handout just these questions. What's your script? And do you want to keep it? If it's effective, by all means. If not, change it. We're not stuck in those situations. And T stands for talk about it. Can we as parents go home when we're having dinner with our kids and say, hey, you guys, today Dad made a mistake at work. I want to talk about it, and I want you to help me learn everything I can from this mistake. You, my friends, have just taken mistakes from under the table and put it on the pedestal, if you can do that. If kids can hear us, as adults, as parents, as teachers, talking about our mistakes, we have just given them permission to own and learn from their own.
Let's tell them what we got and what we're doing here. Couple things. We got books outside. Mistakes are in all the books. The blue book is for teens. We wrote that first. We just thought it'd be a cool little thing for teens. We didn't realize it was for every human being. It wasn't for teens. That's our blue book. We use that in the curriculum. The red book is for teachers, telling teachers how we want to handle mistakes. And the yellow book is for parenting with ECFE. So these would be for parents of like 8 and unders. How mistakes are vital there. But our stuff's available outside.
The blue book would be for parents of middle school and high school kids and kids that age.
Right.
You might notice that Tom and I are wearing some buttons. This young boy is a hero of ours. His name is Soon Wai. We call him Soon Wai the button guy. Soon Wai is at a program at Irondale High School, fabulous program for mentally handicapped young people. And we have hired this class to make buttons for us on various top 20 themes. I'm wearing Confusion Rocks. Tom's got OPOs.
OPO with a line through it. And they do a fabulous job. Buttons are a buck. Say Soon Why. Button guy. And he loves it when we send him $1. So get
In
into it.
January, we will have an online training for parents that we're developing with Master Teacher. Well, let's see, one other thing. We got Edison there. Let's go to,
Oh, tell me something you got out of this. Stop. You're not going anywhere. I set my alarm in the middle of the night to come and see you, so you give me something. We call it Kaizen, good change. Kaizen. What did you get out of this hour? Give me something. Consequence different than punishment. What? Mistakes? No, they're fabulous. Celebrate confusion. Come on, more. I'm greedy. Come on. Conscious choices. What, ma'am? What confused you today, honey? Would be a great it's better than did you do your homework? Stop asking that stupid question. Ask your kid, what'd you get confused about today? That's a huge positive thing for dinner conversation. What else? Come on, I'm greedy. Come on. Trying's natural. I want to, on 3, give yourselves a hand for getting up today and think, and I can probably, no, don't clap for us. Plus, when you get up, I'm going to tell my wife we got a standing ovation. Hey, give yourselves on 3. 1, 2, 3. For being parents that want to get better. Bye-bye.
have a good day.